All right, welcome. Because today's video is very special. We're going to be going over the big boogeyman in crypto and trying to understand, is it possible? Is it true that one firm has been able to suppress the price of Bitcoin and crypto? Now, everyone loves a good conspiracy, but our goal here is not just to spread conspiratorial thinking, it's to understand, is this actually the cause of Bitcoin and crypto going down? Is Jane Street, the dark and anonymous firm that personally recruited Sam Bankman-Fried as his first role in his career, is Jane Street the boogeyman that has been crashing crypto since 2021? The answers are not exactly black and white, because we know for sure that they were instrumental in the collapse of Luna in 2022. But their role in the current Bitcoin and crypto collapse is going to become much clearer over the coming days and weeks. We've got all the dirty deets for you, and this is going to be a great show. And then we're going to talk about what I see as the new altcoins. And we're going to be talking about that at the halfway point in the show. So if you have any questions, make sure to fire them off in the chat, but wait until I'm a little bit further in, and then I can get into the Q&A. And then we'll be talking about what is the reality of this boogeyman. Is it possible that one firm has derailed Bitcoin from being digital gold and relegated it to being dumped out like a baby with the bathwater in the software SaaS apocalypse that we find ourselves in? It's going to be an interesting one. And then we're going to talk about where the real money is being made. And I'm going to shout out some people that I think you should be paying attention to that have helped me navigate this world. But also, I just think that this is where the big game is right now. If you are the type of person who wants to speculate in crypto, I'm going to give you the keys, I think, to investing right now and over the course of the next few years. Shout out to the chat. Thank you guys for showing up. Crypto winter, we've got each other. Let's keep each other warm, all right? Let's keep each other nice and warm and fuzzy. Because right now, we're going to get into it. All right. Breaking. We now have a lawsuit filed by Donald Trump's media company, DJT. And he is alleging, along with others, that Jane Street Citadel have now been crashing and manipulating down the price of Bitcoin. This is very spicy tea. You can see it's an official filing here. And this will produce, what this will produce is disclosures and on the record testimony, where over the course of potentially months, potentially years, we will find out whether this firm has been manipulating down the price of Bitcoin. Now, the positive here is that we will finally know if there is some kind of manipulation or boogeyman. And the question would be, why Jane Street? If you guys have been on Twitter over the last few days, you've probably seen this story, but we're going to break it down for you right now. This all started with a Zero Hedge post saying that Terraform Labs, which was the labs company. If you guys don't know how crypto works, here's how it works. There's usually a developer, a builder in a tier one or a first, I don't know, how do I say this? In one of the main countries, one of the advanced countries like America, like Europe, like China, whatever it might be. And they want to build a crypto project. But because of the laws, they're so ambiguous, they're so unclear, and because of the hostile regulatory climate under even Trump 1 and Biden, the way that the legal structures would work is that these projects would be created by offshore foundations. So you'd have foundations set up in Panama, in the British Virgin Islands, in Singapore, in the Marshall Islands, in random jurisdictions that will just allow for these foundations to be set up. And it allows for the team to build and then have some of the tech be built onshore and some of the regulatory scrutinous stuff happen offshore, so that people can just have some kind of legally defensible way to build in crypto while the rules were unclear. So the Terraform entity was the labs company. So that would be like the centralized company that helps actually the brain operating the development of Terra Luna, right? And so then you have, I think, the Luna Foundation or the Terra Luna Foundation. I don't know what their foundation was called. But there's usually a labs company and then there's a foundation company. And in this case, Terraform was saying, and this is the actual builder of Luna, was saying, hey, it wasn't our fault that Luna collapsed. It was actually these guys, Jane Street. Now, of course, this might be repetitive for you if you've seen some of the reporting over the last few days, but I'm just going to make this very clear because I think it's really important that you guys know what happened here, okay? So first and foremost, okay, This all started. Actually, let's go into, yes. So this started as Luna was planning to lower the amount of interest it was paying in its Anchor protocol. If you guys remember, you could lock up money in Luna or in Anchor and it would pay you 20% APY, and it just continued to grow and grow and grow until it was paying out billions of dollars per quarter. Not sustainable. Everybody knew that this wasn't sustainable long term. And so they were planning to transition to a new model, gradually declining from the 20% rate to something ostensibly more sustainable. And as a private group, they decided they were going to, if you can see my cursor here, they were going to transition from one pool, known as the curve or the 3 pool, to the 4 pool, right? And to do this, what they did was they removed some of the liquidity and they were planning to re-add it to the next pool. Now, when you remove liquidity, effectively each buy and sell becomes more impactful. So if I remove, say, a third of the liquidity in any liquidity pool on a DEX, then every dollar that's bought or sold will move the price more. So with less liquidity, in this case, a seller could potentially lower the price of what was supposed to be a stablecoin. And this is where you get Jane Street. So they were expected to move this $150 million to a new pool the next week. But within 10 minutes, right? It was not publicly announced. Okay? And then within 10 minutes of Terraform's withdrawal of 150 million, Jane Street made its single biggest trade of UST, the stablecoin, selling 85 million UST in one transaction. 85 million in one transaction, right? That is insane. To do this 10 minutes after the principal has removed significant liquidity. The only reason why you would do that was in attempt to what's called break the peg, meaning that you want to damage this stablecoin and remove it from being traded one-to-one with the dollar. The best way to do that is to actually break the peg and get people scared. And then once people are scared, then they all start selling, worried that it won't resume and regain the peg or repeg. So they immediately sold $85 million in one transaction, which is absolutely insane to do. And the only way you can describe that is extreme predatory behavior trying to crash the UST stablecoin, okay? That 85 million trade was the largest. Let me bring this window up for you. That 85 million trade was the largest single swap on the Curve 3 pool and precipitated a steep sell-off in UST, a sell-off that ultimately collapsed the Terra ecosystem. I just realized my mic was a little low, so we have boosted that, okay? Sorry, headphones users. Okay. So this is where we get the actual follow-on, where it appears that there was this private chat where they had already been talking about a fundraise, and it was a private, unreleased, non-public piece of information that this transition between the 3 pool and the 4 pool was going to happen. I'm not going to bore you with all the details here, but effectively, this is the crux of what the argument of what the lawsuit is that they purposefully depegged the UST stablecoin and likely were shorting at the same time, knowing that they would create a bank run and knowing that it would collapse Luna. And they did this on material, as it says, these pieces of information were not public, as Granieri exclusively noted, or expressly noted. Terraform reasonably expected that Jane Street and Granieri would keep this sensitive information about its financial condition confidential. Okay, so this is the big deal. They took private, non-public information and they clearly tried to break the peg by selling $85 million in one transaction, which is an insanely predatory and just downright awful thing to do, right? But here's where we get interesting. Here's where we get very interesting. Who is Jane Street? Who is this mystery firm that all of a sudden is at the center of the UST Luna protocol? Well, since 2020, Jane Street has managed to become one of the most profitable trading firms in all of Wall Street, actually making more money than Goldman Sachs and almost every other investment bank. Okay, they are a wonder firm. And if you look at their profits, what do you notice? Well, they're just humming along. They're doing okay. But then in 2020, when the DeFi and crypto bull runs kick off, look at these revenues. Look at how they jumped. Okay, this is where they are making their real money, is in crypto. Okay, so they came out of nowhere. Very interestingly, this guy, Rob Granieri, runs one of the most profitable trading firms on Wall Street. Probably never heard of him because no public photos of him exist for 25 years. That is until Bloomberg published this one photo last year. Very random photo. Doesn't even look like he posed for it, right? It's a Burning Man type guy. I don't think that really matters, but he's donated, you know, to both Republicans and Democrats, and he hedges his politics. So, you know, there's not really any clear tie as to anything, but this guy is a hedge fund guy. Okay, so now let's go down the rabbit hole here. So there's also weird stuff about Jane Street. For one, they personally recruited Sam Bankman-Fried, this guy Rob Granieri, right? He personally recruited Sam Bankman-Fried to work there, and that's where Sam Bankman-Fried learned to trade, was Jane Street. They're very, very clandestine, and not so much is known about this firm, but they're a quant firm in New York, okay? They operate like an anarchist commune. They claim they don't have CEOs. They don't have leadership. They just have a bunch of people working together. This is just part of this philosophical thing that you see underpinning some of the most powerful and oftentimes most malicious actors in the world, is you see this like ethics framework. And we saw it with SPF and what's called EA, which was this something altruism. It was extensible. I forgot the E stands for, but it's something altruism, where you essentially can excuse any action if you believe it's in the service of altruism. And so, you know, Sam, oftentimes when he was discussing and reflecting on the things he did, the people he stole from, he didn't have remorse because he had invested that money into causes that he thought were good, like medical research or AI or whatever he thought justified this action, because his ethical framework believes that the ends justify the means, in that if the action itself produces what you believe as an altruistic outcome, it doesn't matter what you do. And that is something that I think is really important, because it's just important that you know that this is how some of the most influential people in the world think. And I personally don't agree with that, right? And that's my belief. I don't think you can excuse any action by saying in 10 years or 20 years, this good thing will happen. You can't just do that. And these are the consequences, right? You see a lot of human pain and suffering caused by someone who believes, oh no, but my altruistic philosophy is why this is okay. And so this is, obviously they tell the story a little bit about Terra Luna in May, the 10-minute trade. And apparently there was an assistant named Bryce Pratt, or he was an intern that effectively joined Jane Street in 2021. And he was the one, there was a chat called Bryce's Secret, where he was funneling secret information between the two entities. Okay. But what they're saying is that this isn't their first rodeo, that they've effectively been kicked out of India for manipulating the markets over there. And effectively, they're not allowed to trade in India. And they were kicked out by India's Security and Exchange Board, the SEBI. And so they are well known for being market manipulators. And this is not their first rodeo. The question is, since this modern Bitcoin ETF era, what have they been up to? Because that is something that is highly, highly relevant. Okay. It's worth noting that Jane Street is one of the only firms, is the only market maker that is on every single Bitcoin ETF. They signed up to be a partner on every single Bitcoin ETF. Okay. So the general thought process here is that these guys have figured out how to manipulate Bitcoin and the price of it in such a way that they can continually put downward pressure on the price. And this led to something called the 10 a.m. slam, where everyone believes that this was them effectively creating a 10 a.m. Eastern time slam, where there was a big sell-off at 10 a.m., which we've seen very obviously on the charts for the last several months in Bitcoin. And their 13F confirms a massive positioning. This time they have 473% more stock in MicroStrategy. So what they do is they short, they hold spot, and people effectively think that while they're holding the short, they are accumulating spot, so it's delta neutral. They build up huge positions, and then while they're shorting, they end up selling all their spot, creating a price fluctuation downwards. So they profit off the short way more than they lose off selling the spot tokens, and then they rinse and repeat. Now, is it illegal? I don't actually know if that's legal or illegal, but it is manipulation, right? It is price manipulation. And so I would like to think that it's illegal. Now, what people are pointing out here is that just yesterday, the day after all of this starts to come to light, we see Bitcoin and crypto have this massive, massive relief bounce. Bitcoin hit 70K, alts are flying. You see some alts like up here in the 24% on Circle stock. You see a bunch of alts flying 30, 40, 50%. And the question is, was that it? Did we find the boogeyman? Is the boogeyman dead? Have we shined a light on the vampire? And can we now go back to living a normal life here in crypto land, just doing normal things like summoning circles for our bags and praying to Pepe? Like, can we just go back to the normal shit? Okay, maybe. I think that if you're going to get my honest opinion here, now it's time to be real. I think that all of these things are interesting, but let's look at the charts. If Jane Street is on the back foot, and that's genuinely true, then we should see the trend change. And right now, what we've seen is not that. Look at Bitcoin, even Bitcoin, the best coin in crypto, right? We have just seen this revival bounce, but it didn't hit our key level of 72K, and it didn't even get above this prior wick high of 70K. You can see that pretty much, as far as right now, crypto is not in any kind of reversal pattern, and Bitcoin is not showing any signs of genuine reversal because it's not even over this recent wick high. So is it possible? Is it possible that we're starting a reversal? Maybe. But remember, our system is very, very simple. And again, I've learned this trading system from a buddy of mine. Now I'm proud to call him a friend, Brandon Hong. I think you should check him out. He's got a great trading system, very simple. But the biggest thing that I think is the takeaway is it's simple and objective, right? If we are making higher highs and higher lows, that's bullish. And if we are not, then that's not bullish. So we just have to understand that until we make a new high over this 72K, that would be the first big boss to slay. But really, it's this 80K range that we want to get above to start actually seeing really bullish action in crypto. For now, this is a nice and compelling story, but we don't trade just the news, not anymore on this channel. We have a simple trading system. So right now, as fun as this is, as we might see Jane Street get exposed here and get the garlic thrown all over them like the vampire they are, obviously they seem weird, they seem shady. I don't know anything about it though. And the truth is that very well might not be the case. We have to accept that all of these things might be true, and there might be other valid reasons why Bitcoin is dumping. And that is the hard part for us as a crypto community. It's just to say, yeah, all that might be true. And we still just saw one of the oldest Satoshi era wallets of all time dump $1 billion in Bitcoin last week. We saw Vitalik sell $7 million of Ethereum last week. So maybe, just maybe, it's not just Jane Street and the Jane Street blues. Maybe we have other problems in crypto land that we just need to chew through, And that's the hard truth that I think we all just need to be okay with. Now, in the meantime, I think this is the most important thing that we can see, because the Clarity Act has stopped the actual innovation in crypto from benefiting the token holders through what's called alignment. Now, until we get true alignment, I don't believe that we will get to see the real altcoins, as I'm calling them, take proper dominance in the market. And we're going to talk about what the real altcoins are right now, because altcoins, as a rule, altcoins as we see them are these get-rich mechanisms. You buy in low, you ride it up, you get excited, you get the adrenaline, you get an extreme pump to your net worth. But that, my friends, is the point of early investing, is you want to have this massive upside. The big problem with altcoins is that they have not been giving these wealth creation events, not really since early 2024, late 2023. Yes, there was a sort of big pump at the end of 2024, but the real big, recent alt season happened through like memes and gaming and all that fun stuff at the beginning of 2024, end of 2023. And then before that, it was 2021. And since then, altcoins have not been a great wealth building mechanism because it's just been too hard. The pumps have been too short-lived. So what I wanted to show you is effectively this, which is the actual altcoins, right? The real altcoins right now are private markets. Those are the altcoins. And again, a big shout out. You guys should definitely be following Brandon Hong on Twitter. He has been helping me understand this world, actually very much so on the front ends of this, helping me learn more and actually get involved myself with owning some of these robotics and AI startups. These are the multipliers that we have wanted for our altcoins. 103x out of Anthropic, 229x out of Figure AI, 230x out of XAI, 10.3x out of SpaceX, right? 27x out of OpenAI. Like, this is altcoin style gains. The difference is that these aren't liquid. You can't just invest into them as a Joe Schmo. You can't just be a retail punter and get access to them. But this is where all of the gains are happening. This is where the real money is being made. And this is the altcoins. And what are the main coins? Well, the main coins are Google and Tesla and the Mag 7. Those are the top tech stocks. The altcoins are the privately held, super disruptive companies in AI robotics that are not currently able to be bought publicly. But there are ways to buy them. There are ways to buy them. And that should be the mission of this channel and all other channels right now, is to look at how to get into the best assets known to man, at least for the next few years. I think the AI and robotics trend will continue, and we will see some IPOs, and that will set some ceilings on these valuations. Like whatever OpenAI ends up achieving in their IPO, that will be a benchmark. Okay, can Anthropic hit that? Okay, can, XAI hit that if it goes public, or SpaceX, whatever they decide to launch as that mechanism. This is going to be a golden era of this new wave of tech going public. But right now, unfortunately, a lot of this stuff is in the private markets. And that's annoying if you're just a retail investor, you're just an average, you don't have accredited status. But there's going to be ways, and I'm going to be working hard to figure out ways to get access to those deals and to source those deals early, because this is really where the big dogs are making all their money. All the big boys are chucking tens of millions of dollars into these early deals and just riding them up. And every round is just a markup. There's no big dumps. There's no 90% retracements. It's just most of these companies, if they're part of the elite cohort, just keep repricing upwards. And I think that this is where the new altcoins are. This is where the new bull run is. And this is where the actual way to get rich over the next few years will be. I believe crypto will eventually bottom, and that this Clarity Act will bring that energy into crypto. That's my belief, is that the Clarity Act is required to make this group of companies crypto companies. You need token alignment with actual equity, because right now you can't give token holders true equity like incentives and ownership of a project. You can't do it legally. And when you can do that, that will allow for these early stage companies to make it into a public arena faster. And so I do think that this is utterly critical. And I think over time, crypto becomes the early stage venture playground that everybody knows and loves it to be. But for now, it's the non-crypto early stage venture that's going bananas with AI and robotics. And I believe that the AI trade, especially with valuations near $1 trillion, probably not going to give you 100x, no time soon. But I think the robotic side of this is where there's a lot of excitement and a lot of huge 5, 10, and even 50x opportunities over time. So that is where I think the new altcoins are. That's what I want to be helping investigate with all of you. And then, doing whatever we can as normal people. Obviously, I'm just like you in a lot of ways. I am an accredited investor, but I'm not an insider in Silicon Valley. I'm not an insider, but I want to work to build up a community of people who care about this. And then maybe as a community, we can leverage our way in. So that would be really cool. I mean, hopefully we can build something of interest here so that we can get access to this stuff, because I think that this stuff is where the real wealth is being made. It's not a question of, I think it is where the real wealth is being made. And I think that, for the next probably 4 years or so before robotics start to really roll out mass commercialized, the speculation will be incredible and the valuations will continue to climb. So that's where my head's at. I'm curious what the chat thinks. Dude is wolfing like a mofo. Big dogs sitting in stables and BRC, waiting for the next thing. Yeah, I think so. I think a lot of the big dogs are just sitting in gold right now. Dorsey just 5. Yeah, so I actually have the Jack Dorsey thing right here. Let me bring this up because that is absolutely a massive piece of news. Check this out. This is the next step of AI. And this is why it's important not to get insanely bearish, because what's going to happen is AI is going to start being implemented into companies. Those companies are going to start slicing their headcount down dramatically and still making the same amount of money. And all of a sudden, a company that was producing 1 billion in profits is now producing 2 billion in profits. So should their stock go up if they're making way more money and spending less. Say they're making the same amount of money, but spending half as much, then they're making twice as much, right? The efficiency is part of that. So there's probably a wave of companies getting these big pumps off of these announcements that they're doing layoffs and that the company's going to be more profitable. And the question is, when do we hit this equilibrium where companies are going to suffer because the economy starts being unhealthy for the lack of knowledge workers? That is the question. I thought this was an amazing chart. Look at this. Okay. You have two views of AI. You have the tech singularity, end of scarcity. AI could end scarcity, end humanity, or boost growth trend by 0.2 percentage points. So it's like, it could either be that nothing changes except that we get a slight production increase, or it could be that we extinctify humans, or that we go to the moon. This is the current state of AI dialogue, which is you either have utopia, dystopia, or nothing ever happens. And that's about as much as anyone really knows about AI. I do think that, as always, there will be a ton of opportunities for humans, and that we are underestimating the way that humans will adapt to this. That being said, there is a transition period where if AI does figure out how to unlock way too much productivity in the next year or two, we as a society are just not prepared to deal with that. Because if there's genuinely not a need for all of these knowledge workers in really 4 years, that's not something that our economy and our culture and our society is adapted to deal with. Our whole society is built around people making the hard choices, deferring gratification, taking on debt, and becoming a specialized knowledge worker. And if all of those people start to not be able to afford things, well, that is the people who spend all the money. So all of these companies with amazing stock prices, they're not going to last with those stock prices if there isn't this huge amount of buyers and sellers. I saw that, electrician is probably the most safe job over the next decade or so. Interesting. If I was actually really strapped, I know this is a crazy thing to say, if I was broke today and just needed to make money, I would become an electrician, and I would make $500K a year after my apprenticeship, because that's how much they're literally making. They're making $250, $500K, a good electrician in a good city. And then I'd take as much excess money as I could, and I would work to get my butt in all of these private deals. I would try to get and cobble together whatever it needs. I'd beg, borrow, and steal to get the accredited status. Not steal, obviously, but you just work your butt off to get the accredited status, and then you try to shovel some money into robotics and AI deals. And I think you could probably get there faster, a lot of people, as an electrician or a plumber, than most people would being like a social media intern or something in the modern age. I know it's a crazy take, but that's probably the truth, is that blue collar is the new white collar in this crazy new economy. It's a shitty job though. Yeah, well, guess what's also shitty? Being unemployed, not having a job. I actually think people who work with their hands have a significantly higher degree of personal satisfaction with their job. This is actually borne out by the data, is that construction workers have the highest job satisfaction. Why? Because you're working all day, but then at the end you look up and you built a house and it's beautiful, and you see that your hands did that. And that's something that, as a knowledge worker, as like a computer person, you just don't have the same level of self gratification at the end of a job. It's just the truth. Anyway, I wanted to update a little bit here on the AI movement, as it were. Claude right now is pumping out stuff, but I actually saw a great article by Miles. Let me just bring this up really quick. And I actually agree with this. I agree with this. This is where we're at. Don't actually use OpenClaw. I think most people don't need OpenClaw. I think if you want to build an autonomous business where you have like one agent managing 10 agents that's like creating copy and different brand images, reaching out to influencers, negotiating brand deals, and distributing product, and you're trying to automate all that, yeah, use OpenClaw. Start to build stuff. But if you just want someone to automate your daily tasks, to do some research, to write scripts, like in my case, to send, invoices, to do the sort of basic blocking and tackling of daily work tasks, I don't think you need it. And that's because these SaaS companies like, where to go? These SaaS companies like Cowork or Claude are actually being integrated into Notion, and they're also being integrated into Cowork for things like Excel. And you probably just don't need to deal with the overhead of running an agent, having its own specialized machine locally, most people would be fine just using the built-in AI tooling that's coming to a lot of these big organizations. I think the OpenClaw hype was mind-blowing and that it moved the industry forward, but I don't think that it's actually the right fit for most people. I'll say this, almost everything that I built with my OpenClaw has broken and has become tangled Christmas tree lights as I've tried to expand it. So I'm hitting my own personal plateaus with the vibe coding stuff. It was amazing for a bit, but now I'm personally struggling to get stuff to work at scale. And I'm probably just going to default back to Notion AI and Slack AI and, you know, Cowork and just using the stuff that's built into the box, because I don't even have to mess with all that overhead. I don't have to spend thousands of dollars a month in credits. I can just use the features I need, do the research I need, automate the single tasks I need, and not have the headache. So that's kind of my take right now on OpenAI or the AI movement, is that the OpenClaw thing has been overcooked. And my take on the market with Jane Street is really this. I think this was a great one. Make them think Jane Street marked the bottom, then retrace the entire pump and nuke it to 50K. Again, I don't know if they're going to nuke to 50K, though that is the next big level, right? You can see here, we have the 60K bottom, but really the big level here is from the, just look at the monthly. This is the big level from, what was this? August of 2024. So this 49K, that was the bullet. That was when Trump caught the bullet. And that to me is the biggest level on the chart. So that's the next big level to me. All of this is just chop in between, but 60K isn't like super hard support. I mean, maybe it'll prove out to be, who knows? But again, from a TA perspective, from a simple chart perspective, this is the next really big level, is that 49K. So if we do lose 60K, I would not be surprised to see us take a trip down there. Not to be the bearer of bad news, but I just want you guys to have a realistic understanding. And finally, if you are looking to buy a house in 2026, absolutely do not, because the houses are so insanely overpriced. Everybody knows it. Nobody wants them. And this is the time that truth and light and reality set in for the boomers, because things have changed. I text my mom this actual Google searches for can't sell a house just hit all-time high. I live in LA, the most illogical and overpriced housing district in America. She texted me back, yes, but reality doesn't ever apply to LA, and specifically the good neighborhoods in LA. And I said, not this time. This time is different, because remote work killed the need to be near the office. People don't drink. There's no reason to be close to the clubs and the nightlife, okay? The entire knowledge worker space is under heat, is under fire. Hollywood is dying because of AI and C-Dance and these AI-produced content. Nobody goes to the movies. Why, oh why, would LA be immune to any kind of true housing sell-off? I don't buy it. I think that this is the first time that LA gets completely destroyed when the rest of the market drops. I'm calling it now. I think that this is for sure the time that LA sees reality. And I think as a testament to this, there was this story that an AI spam bot started hitting up all these home sellers in Tampa. Where was this? I think this is it. So this guy set up his OpenClaw to send lowball offers on Zillow all day just to make boomers start panicking. And they said they've gotten 0 positive responses, 270 negative responses. One was violent, and they reported to the Tampa Bay Police Department with 102 non-responses. So they got 270 responses and 102 non-responses, which is absolutely insane to be batting. That's nearly 3/4, right? That's nearly 75% are responding and all negative, because he's doing 70% below asking. So imagine you have a $5 million house. He's offering them $1.5 million, which is, if you're thinking of this as a seller, unthinkable, right? Unthinkable. So to me, I think that's where it's at, though. If I saw a lot of the houses in LA, I would pay for what they're asking, $5 million. Yeah, I'd pay 1.5 million for sure, all day. But the $5 million doesn't even feel like a nice house. It doesn't even feel like a finished house in LA. Look up LA houses for $5 million. You will be shocked. You will be shocked as to what you get, which feels like not a lot. It feels like not a lot. Certainly not like the dream house you'd imagine for $5 million. So If we do see a 70% correction in LA real estate, I'm happy. I'll live in the sunshine, baby. Don't get me wrong. But for right now, I'm calling it. We've seen the top. We've seen the top on residential housing, at least for a few years, if not potentially in our lifetimes, depending on how much they print money. Of course, they print a ton of money, then everything will re-rate. But at least I think for the 2020s, we've seen the top. Another absolutely hot take. Sales are a skill that is getting more valuable, because the truth is that as much as the math and science people will probably be put out of work, you don't need to know how to code. You don't need to know how to do math. You don't need to know how to do a lot of these sciences, though the hard sciences, the mechanical engineering stuff, you will probably need some more support there. And as the guy from Anduril, Jackson Lucky, said, I think the people who are not computer savvy will be able to build little mechanical things and plug in vibe coded brains into them, and they'll be able to make incredible things. So I do think the shape rotators, the mechanical engineers, will benefit, but I also think that the salespeople, the content creators, the humans that actually make people feel alive and communicate well will continue to have an incredible role. So I think that that is going to accelerate. I think that AI will make it easier for those people to amplify their messages, but I don't think that the human touch is, at least in my lifetime, going to disappear with its relevance. People like to interact with humans, and they probably always will. So it's going to be interesting, but I do think at least for the next 10 years, I don't think that human-based sales and interactions and interpersonal connections are going to go down. I think they will actually be considered more valuable, especially as the need for the hard scientific background drops and the need for other types of knowledge work drops. You'll get generalists that have passion, are extremely stubborn, extremely driven, and I think they'll be very, very successful. As an engineer, I feel things like a mechanic will be easily replaced. Maybe. Is Ellio a certified investor? How much do you need to lose to get? Yeah, I'm a certified investor. A certified investor in things that go down. Got a good till canceled at approximately 55K 6 months, then it automatically canceled, which covers in May. You talking about a limit order to buy Bitcoin? Yeah, I mean, that's fine. My OpenClaw just got a new mission. Thanks, Ellio. What's the mission, brother? What's the mission? Yeah, California's terrible. It's terrible, right? The policies are crazy, but there's a change happening. Supposedly, there's a Republican governor in the front running for California governor, and people are waking up. People are waking up to the fact that you can't just blindly slap a Democratic label on everything and assume that it's good. They understand that the policies of the last few years haven't been working out. And let's be honest, it's the best weather, most beautiful state in the country. You might not agree with that, but that's what the facts are. I mean, pretty much universally agree that the weather in California is the best in the country. And that's what keeps people here, is it's a beautiful place to be. It's definitely worth a premium, but not the premium that's currently being charged. I think that we'll see a return back to sanity here. And then I'm okay with paying a little extra to live in California. I just don't want to get dinged completely and have to deal with hurricanes and floods and snowstorms and all these other things that you have to deal with in different jurisdictions. California, yeah, you get an earthquake once every never. But other than that, it's just beautiful. It's just beautiful. It's just the truth. It's a beautiful place. Best weather on earth. Yeah, I mean, it is. It's just nice. My family's here too, like close to my parents. Family's really important to me. And so everyone has their reasons for being where they are. For me, I almost think of it as, maybe California just needs better leadership. Maybe it needs more voices, young voices who understand how to make the place better. Because I think a lot of people have the same goals. That's the thing, is when you get caught up in politics, you forget that everyone really has the same goals. People want life to be easier. They want to afford more stuff. They want their kids to do well. They want safety. 99% of what people want is the same. They just believe and have been taught to believe that the way the other people want to do it is evil. And so if you can unite people around a sane agenda, I think that's the right path forward. Of course, politics is just so toxic now, as you know. I'm sure I'll get some toxic comments under this when all I said was, let's be sane. But that's just what it is. I'm sure you guys have seen the drift. The drift is crazy. But anyway, what else do we have here? I think we've gotten everything, but let's check this out. This is good. This is fun. Let's do this.
By 2030, almost 80% of people had lost their jobs.
They had no money, no purpose. But
How good is that? Look at this Bezos. I feel like he's on track for this. With he's been partying with his girl in Miami and stuff. Like, this is where he's headed. This is what we always wanted for you, Jeff.
no purpose. But they had a lot of time on their hands.
The less people actually did physical work, the more they wanted to appear as if they did.
What if we could use the energy of humans to power the machines?
This is like the AI version of the Matrix. This is like our new version of The Office meets the Matrix. Because everyone, I think this is like a profound observation. The less work people do, the more they want to do appear as if they did. I mean, it's true. Like, we're all just showing off our bodies. Most people in the gym don't actually do hard labor or anything like that.
Energem solved our need for energy and your need for purpose.
I love how they made every one of the founders fat as if they never, ever, ever go to the Energym themselves. Anyway, I thought that would be a funny way to end it. Class action lawsuit against Jane Street. Let's do it, brother. Let's do it. You and me. Let's go. Let's get them. How much did I lose? 100 mil or 300 mil? No, the 100 million that I lost, that I said I lost at the end of last year, you know, a lot of that was tokens I had invested in early. Token that I started, like Super. As you guys know, I've never sold any of my founder tokens in Super, and Super was trading at 2.5 billion FDV. So you guys have to just use your brain, you know, like 2.5 billion FDV for the founder stake is going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot. And I just didn't sell any because I felt like it wasn't ready. I felt like the project hadn't matured. We were just on our way to do something and Trump was taking over. I felt like, yeah, it'll be ready in the next few months or years, but you know, it just never reached the escape velocity. So most people sell within, you know, a few minutes of starting a project. And it's been over 6 years now since I've started working on Super, which I funded out of my own pocket, the initial development, while I was living very, very cheaply. So yeah, I mean, I don't have any big backers. I never got an easy way into this, and I never took any of the obvious off-roads and paydays. I've just been trying to build something sustainable for the audience. So, you know, whatever. I just think that over time we'll win, keep running our head against the wall will fall, and I'm excited for it. But no, I mean, last year was horrific. It was definitely horrific performance. I've had a much better year already in 2026 because I stopped just using hopium as a lens. I stopped just assuming things will go up because I want them to go up, and I started using an objective system. So I really just want to shout out again, Brandon helped me learn his system, and I've learned a lot through him. So check him out. I definitely share his perspective. You should actively trade when things are trending, only when things are trending. You shouldn't just be trading to trade, but when things are trending, push the chips center, ride the trend. And then as far as the real altcoins, for right now, I think those are in private markets. And then once we get alignment through the Clarity Act, we can see equity-like structures hitting the token sphere, which will lead to tokens that have the type of performance that we expected out of the Ethereum killers, out of the Solana killers, out of the DeFi gems. There's too much leakage in the token ecosystem between the token itself, the labs company, the foundation, the investors. Like, there's too many ways for people to get access to the value going on there without it being directly through that being a token holder. So once that gets fixed through the Clarity Act, we will see an improvement in crypto, and there will be tokens that rightfully so start to have massive, massive price performance. And that will be the change. And we don't need to front run that. We don't. I think that that's the thing that I misunderstood last time, is that you don't need to die on the stake waiting for this to happen. We can simply observe the trend, and as it flips bullish, we can buy into that bullish trend and ride it. And then as it breaks, we should be aware that that would be the time to be taking risk off. And if we had done that in 2023 and 24, we would have sold at the top of the ETF high that we saw when the market started pretty obviously rolling over, even though we didn't want it to. And we would have sold again at 124,000 when we had that swing failure pattern in October. We would have been much more profitable. And that's my goal for the next cycle, is that we rode up all the bullish trends. We just didn't identify the bear trends because I wasn't using the objective system that I am now. And that's going to change. And so nothing left to do but just to take my licks and to rebuild. Obviously the channel is not as big as it was, as as when we were getting things more right, but we will be back again. I've been through a few bear market cycles, and I've built things back up before. And what I know for sure is that if I keep honoring the commitment to the audience here, that nothing can stop us. You know, eventually there's going to be a bull market. We're going to ride it. We're going to make out like bandits, and then we're going to roll those profits into even better investments, and we're going to continue to compound, because the world is very infinite. Think about it like this. If AI speeds up the process to make a successful business, and crypto speeds up the process to give access to those successful businesses to investors, then there is very much so a reality in which we will see the opportunity to invest in rapidly growing businesses accelerate, and the amount of opportunities will become numerous. And sure, there will be more companies and things will grow and die faster, but those types of opportunities will be life-changing if you're able to identify it. And we're going to be there on the ground floor. It's actually insane how far ahead we are as far as information asymmetry when you talk to normal people in the normal world. I was just on a college campus. I drove to college campuses in LA, and I wanted to ask college kids, like, are you scared about AI taking your jobs? And let me tell you this, they had no idea what AI is even doing right now. They are all cheating on their tests with it, but they have no idea what AI can do, and they have no idea what awaits them on the other side of this. And I thought college students would be freaking out, absolutely losing it, pulling their hair out. Not the case. Not the case. Most college students are not even scared at all about what's happening with AI. So it really puts in perspective that there's a small group of people on the very bleeding edge of information, mostly on X, mostly on YouTube. They're investors, and they're thinking deeply about the implications of everything happening right now. But we are this tiny, tiny fraction of the universe. This is not something that everybody's talking about. Most people have no clue. They have no plan. And we will be ahead of not just 90%, not just 95%, but 99.5, 99.9% of people. We will be ahead of them with this process. I'm excited for that. College students are partying. I hope they are, man. I hope they are. I miss those days. Am I still in karate? No, brother, no. I always enjoy your vids. You're a cool dude. Thank you, brother. Yeah, look, I mean, as scary as right now is, you just have to realize there's so much opportunity. It's insane. There's so much opportunity. And you could either wallow over the things that happened in the past, that's spilled milk, or you could realize that we are probably looking at the birth of the most profitable, most important companies in the history of our society, and that in future generations, they will look back on what's happening as caveman-like. They will look back at us, great grandpa, if you are so lucky as to have kids. I highly encourage it. I'm excited to have my own kids. And they will say, I can't believe you lived without AI. You just took vitamins. You didn't know your blood vitals at all times. You didn't have someone protecting your house. You didn't have a robot protecting your house and kids at all times. You didn't have like this sane knowledge that everything was just going to be okay because the robots made sure of it. They will look back at this moment as absolutely insane and unthinkable. Like we look back at people before the invention of, antibiotics and soap. We go, oh my God, you stub your toe and that's it. That's it. You're cooked for life. One toe stub, one paper cut. That's it, brother. And we think of that as archaic, but we can't have the perspective to realize that probably in a few generations, as scary as all this is, they'll look back and go, can you believe those cavemen lived without robots doing everything for them? Absolutely insane. So keep your heads up, keep an optimistic lens. Things are probably going to get a lot better, regardless of the doomerism. And there's an opportunity for you to join the permanent upper class by being early in some of these deals and by recognizing that there is an altcoin bull run. It's just not here in crypto today. And we should be looking at these new altcoins. That's my perspective. And we should be maximizing the amount of money we can make by riding trends, which currently nothing's really trending. Like gold's not trending, Bitcoin's not trending, everything's just chop suey sideways. It's okay to wait and just reevaluate. But we'll be doing more on sort of current 2026 investing, the cycles and all this. But I just want you guys to understand, like there are bull runs almost always in different places. And right now the big bull run is happening in private markets. I don't think it's going to stop either because the demand is insatiable. The demand is insatiable. for disruptive AI and robotics companies. It is insatiable. And the total address of the TAM, the total addressable market, is monstrous. People are now working paycheck to paycheck, hoping their farms are okay. Their fams are okay. Yeah, I mean, you absolutely should. Like I said, things aren't easy. I'm not here to say, oh, here's an easy pill. I think investing in crypto in 2018 and 19, that was the easy pill. It's not been the easy pill over the last few years. And there is maybe no easy pill, but there is an obvious path, which is if you maximize your active income, which everyone should be right now, maximize your active income and understand that there are ways to magnify many X's what your capital has and can offer in risky opportunities. It's just not altcoins right now. It might be altcoins again in 2027. I think if we pass the Clarity Act and then we see some massive changes here, we will see some altcoins start to thrive. I think the Clarity Act will be that thing. But it's also important to realize, like, we're seeing the bear narrative accelerate now. It feels like kind of the mid cycle for the bear market, where people are like, oh, it can't go lower. But then there's a new bear narrative and a new bear narrative. And that's just kind of how markets are. They find narrative to explain the price after the fact. But what's going to happen to the people who are not getting overly lost in the sauce is that there will be opportunities to invest throughout this. And again, if you guys are interested in that, especially if you're accredited, just stay watching this space. And I'd like to figure out ways that we can all work to get bigger access to these deals. Usually having a bigger group of people helps. And yeah, hopefully we can navigate this next few years of investing and make an insane amount of money together, because that's always been the goal of this channel, is to make money. I know that's why you guys are here. Yeah, sure. Short squeeze to 80K, whatever. Below 80K, like I said, keep it simple, right? Below 80K, we're still bearish, right? I brought this up to you guys several times. I actually been showing this since we first lost 72K. Actually, before we lost 72K, I said below that number is 49. So all of this is, let me just get rid of this, put this a little more opaque. Right, this is the range. Is you have this yellow to this yellow. That's the range. And we're in the middle of it, really. I mean, I have these drawings here. They're a little bit confusing. Let me get them out of the way. But we shouldn't even be thinking about anything bullish unless we get up into this zone. And even then, it could easily go up here and then reject, because this was the real breakdown point. You know, this was the real where the bear trend accelerated. So let's just take it level by level. That's the objective way to do this, is to say, okay, if things are so bullish, then where are the buyers? If things are bullish, really bullish, buyers start buying. Just remember that. You don't need to know everything about the news. It's too noisy. It's too noisy. It's fun to talk about, but it's too noisy. You need an objective system when it comes to buying and selling. And when you have that dialed in, which is the point of this channel in 2026, acknowledge, here's where we lost. Why did we lose? How can we change it? If you don't do that, then I don't know. I think there's going to be a lot of crypto channels that completely die because they are unable to update the thesis. And I just don't want to do that. I want to be the best investor I can be, and I want to make the most money I can make. And I also am hoping I can do this in a way where it is 100% aligned with the channel. So that's my goal. Hopefully we can achieve greatness this year. And even though everyone's calling this year off as a bear market, if the market gets to a place where there's an amazing short opportunity, I'll cover it. And, you know, I made a great amount of money shorting over the last few weeks. It's too advanced for me to cover on daily YouTube videos, but as I get better, as I feel more confident, I'll share them with you. So we're going to make money on whether the market's trending up or down, and then we're going to find the best long-term investment opportunities, which I think right now are in private markets. I'm going to a actual really cool event tonight. I will let you guys know a little bit about it, hopefully over the next week or so. And I'm going to try to just expand the focus and expand what we're doing here so that I can be the most useful, which I think at a certain time explaining altcoins was the most useful thing I could do. Now I think getting into the more deep tech trending investments and also learning more about how to share viable active trading systems, not just like, hey, when you combine these 7 indicators, you get a 100% buy and sell signal. It's like, that doesn't work. You want to use simple trading systems. And I know this because I spent the last 5 months working on it and I made the trading system work for me. So I'm excited for it. I'm very, very thankful just to even be continuing to have this community. So thank you guys for showing up, and I will see you very soon on the next episode, guys. See you very soon. All right, take care.